Welcome back to Gibbo MMA, and the question I pose to you is, which UFC fighter would win Squid Game? Now, I've just finished season 3 of Squid Game, so I'm going to try not to spoil it at all. The only thing I might spoil is the games. So if you haven't watched Squid Game, you might have to skip this video for now, but I'm going to try my best not to spoil it. But I thought of this while watching Squid Game. I was like, which UFC fighter would be able to come in here and win the whole game, win the prize money? And yeah, it really got me thinking, and I was like, I'm going to make a video about this. So right now you're probably thinking of a few fighters who you think would win Squid Game. So I'm just going to go through probably 8 or so fighters briefly, and just as to why they would win or why some of them would end up losing. And then at the end, I will choose which fighter who I believe would win Squid Game. So if you haven't watched Squid Game, it's pretty much these guys who need a lot of money end up getting picked up, and they go to this island. It's based in South Korea, and they've got to pretty much play all of these games. They got to play all these games and then get to each next level, progress to each next stage, to end up winning that prize money. And they have a choice when they get there to vote whether they want to keep playing or go home and take what's left of the prize money, and then it's spread out. But you'll see, people's true characters come out. I think you need a lot of luck in this game, but yeah, I just thought, imagine if you just chucked a few UFC fighters in there with the average person, or if we just had the whole UFC roster all in there at the same time. But yeah, I just thought, I'd like to hypothesize the thought of which fighter I think would win it. So I went and listed down some of the skills and attributes needed for this game. I already mentioned one, and that's luck. You need things to go your way, and because in this game, like, shit just happens that's just so, you have like no control a lot of the time, and you're just constantly reacting. So I've listed down some skills and attributes you need. You need a lot of mental and physical attributes like emotional control, staying calm under pressure, especially in those high stakes situations. You need to be adaptable. You need to be able to quickly adjust to the new deadly rules, especially when you've got no information. You're just constantly on reacting, so you need to be able to adapt. A lot of strategic thinking. You've got to outthink the other players, try and outthink the game, quickly learn, how to quickly win the game or, survive. And then obviously emotional intelligence, how to read people, who to trust, who to avoid, when to lie, when not to lie, when to show empathy, when not to. Definitely, you need those problem solving skills. As you see some of the games, they're puzzles, patterns. You got to think fast. You need to be able to work with others. You need that teamwork, collaborate when needed, especially in the games where solo play leads to elimination. Because yeah, there's games where if you don't team up or have a group, you'll die. So definitely teamwork. And then yeah, deception, bluffing. You kind of need to know how to trick people, or yeah, it's very Machiavellian, this game, and just it's constant fight or flight. So you need to be able to have all of these skills and attributes to be able to succeed. And that's where I came into which UFC fighters would be able to survive this and win it. And a whole bunch of fighters came into my head, and I will start off with some of the the first couple are going to be sort of like your goats, your well-rounded guys who have, hit the pinnacle of the sport. And firstly, George St. Pierre. Um, sorry. Yeah, George St. Pierre. He's calm, calculated, strategic thinker. He has elite fitness, like he's an athlete. But um, why I think he would win it was his composure, but he's able to learn things really quickly, and yeah, he's a fast learner and he can adapt and be successful with that. Because I think about his career, like he doesn't have a huge background in wrestling. He started wrestling pretty late, and he ended up being one of the best wrestlers in the UFC with his style, keeping people down, controlling them. And then as far as his striking and jiu-jitsu as well, like he really started from scratch in MMA, and the way he was able to learn each martial art and put them together so quickly and be the best in the world. I definitely had to start off with George St. Pierre. Could definitely win Squid Game. The next guy would be pretty obvious, John Jones, considered another GOAT of the sport. He's just retired now, but I think, he's ruthlessly competitive. He has a very high fight IQ, but also I think when it comes to games, winning, survival and stuff, he would also use his IQ to be able to keep himself alive and win those games. He's physically gifted. Like you think when he first came into the UFC, just doing all sorts of spinning elbows, back fists, flying knees, and I think that would be very handy when you got the games like jump rope. You've got like season one, you got tug of war, the glass bridge, and red light, green light. Games like the hide and seek one in season three, that's pretty brutal. So I think you got to be pretty bit of an athlete if you want to be successful in these games. And John Jones definitely has all those attributes. But where I see where he would lose though is I think he would just make some stupid and irrational decisions, as we've seen outside of the cage. I think something would get under his skin. I think some like the switch will turn, and I think others might turn on him, and I think that's where I'd see him losing his Squid Game. All right, moving on. Now, a bit unexpected, this person, but you're going to be surprised, but I think he has a chance. You're telling me he has a chance? I think he has a chance. This guy is Kobe Covington. Yes, Kobe fucking Covington. Out of all of the guys, I definitely think he would have a shot. Let me know in the comments if you agree, if he has any sort of chance of winning, but I'll let you know why he definitely would. How's this guy managed to stay relevant in his career? His last win, I believe, was against Jorge Masvidal, and we still talk about him. This guy is a survival expert. He just manages to stay relevant, survive, get to the next stage, and I think that is a good attribute and skill to have in the game of Squid Game, because you need to be able to constantly survive, stay relevant, switch and turn, and be able to talk your way into things. And Kobe Covington can do that. He's not afraid to bend the rules. Whether you like it or not, he is smart, and I think in some areas, of course, and I think he'd be able to use that to his advantage, because he seems like he lacks a bit of empathy, and unfortunately, that would get you quite a fair way in this game. Because if you've seen it in the people that just look after themselves and think of themselves, but also act like, oh, they're trying to help you, they do quite well in the game. I'm not going to spoil who wins it, but yeah, if you've watched it all and you've seen season one, seen who won it, and season 3. Those skills and attributes will win it, but also can make you lose. You know, he could very much manipulate people. Like you see, we all think he plays a character, and he's been playing that character for what, a decade or almost a decade now. So I think he could pull it off. But where I do see him losing is he'd just burn too many bridges. Like he would get people on his side and then he would just burn that bridge. And that's what you've seen in real life, him jumping around gyms, not paying coaches, burning relationships. And I think that's where I do, why I don't think he would win it. But yeah, of course, there's always a chance, but yeah, I think the way he burns relationships and when things are going well, he seems to somehow screw it up. So that would be his detriment in Squid Game. Okay, moving on. I had to add some females in this as well. Definitely, like they can definitely win this. And Valentina Shevchenko, I think, you know, she's really skillful. She really good with people. She's got really good emotional intelligence. Like hearing her speak and hearing sort of like her journey, like she's traveled around the world training everywhere. I think she's really cultured and understands different people and how to communicate. And I think she would do really well in this because, you know, she's got like a presence about her, especially, I don't know if it's because she's Russian or whatever, where it's real serious, you know, you don't want to mess with them sort of thing. But you know, seen on her like her nickname's Bullet, like she's good with guns, I'd say knives as well. I think she would have a good sleight of hand, really good in those games like the honeycomb one and marbles in the season 1. Yeah, like she'd be really precise, wouldn't panic, and just from the way she fights as well and how dominant she's been, like she's just super skillful and like the willpower she has. So I think Valentina Shevchenko would definitely have a good shot at winning Squid Game. Okay, moving on to definitely the guy who would be the most fun to watch. This guy would be Box Office. I mean, even if he wouldn't win, you'd still just be like, oh man, it would just make the show so great. I think you know who I'm talking about, and that's Conor McGregor. He definitely would have a chance of winning Squid Game and definitely could end up going out in the first round, just how sporadic he is, but like he's got that elite mental warfare. He can get inside people's head and manipulate them. Early on, he can really draw people onto his side, attract allies. I could see him leading a group, you know, us or the highway. If you're not on my team, you're dead to me. I think when they're voting, if they want to stay or go, I think I think this guy would be in so much debt where he's like, if I don't leave here with all the money, like I'm screwed. So I think he would be doing big speeches, riling people up to vote to stay. And, you know, he's got that charisma, he's physically gifted, and his confidence would definitely carry him a long way. But where his detriment and where he would struggle, and I see him losing in Squid Game, is like being too flashy, impulsive, and when things get really tough, and the whips get cracking, he can tend to start unraveling and show a dark side to his character and really outlash onto other people or people who thought they were his allies. Like he saw in Ultimate Fighter, the first time he was on with Faber, one of the fighters he kept saying, you know, stay on your feet, stay on your feet. And the guy just wouldn't listen to him, and then, you know, they end up like losing. And as well as on the when he was with Michael Chandler, you know, he went 0-6 or something, and he's like, "Yous are all bums to the other guys or just to the fighters in general and just having a big outlash, pushing Chandler. And like when things aren't going his way, I think, you know, he would definitely turn on his allies and yeah, I think his ego and if, you know, things aren't going his way will be what would cost him in this game. He would be box office. It would be very fun to watch him in there. It'd be entertaining. Like he would dominate the first few rounds, but yeah, I think if you're on his side and then as you get to the later stages and you got to, you know, it's you or me decisions, like he ain't thinking twice and you're getting cut off. And like, he's a guy where everyone in the fan base just so believes him. Like you think he can't do anything wrong. This guy is perfect. Like look at what he's done for the sport, but you know, the guy's punching an old man in the bar. If you look how his life is outside the cage, the things he's done, you're just like, yeah, I think that would be where I'd see him losing, but he's got a lot of those attributes where he would win. Okay, to mention another one of those GOATs, well-rounded guys in the UFC, I couldn't leave out Demetrius Johnson. Like this guy's a gamer. He's so well-rounded, really coordinated, fast thinker. Just think of that flying armbar he did, like the creativity. Yeah, I think he'd be really good with the reflexes, good in the puzzle games. Yeah, I think he would be able to progress to stages and stay alive. Yeah, I definitely think Demetrius Johnson is in there with a chance. Who else? Islam Makhachev. Yeah, he's ice cold. He would be funny in there. You know, he's disciplined, you know, he's got great awareness, he's got that Dagestani toughness. I thought it could be, but I think he's just a bit too one-dimensional, just the way he fights. Like, you know, I think, you know, he's not very versatile. But Islam, you know, he's got a shot for sure. Now, moving on. So, before I go on to the next person, think of you know, a list of 5 people, comment them below who you think would win it, or comment like so far about what I'm talking about, like if you agree. Towards the end, I'm gonna reveal who I think would win and put my money on. But yeah, I think it's just a fun way to think about, yeah, Squid Game and how these UFC fighters would be in it. Okay, moving on to Australia's own Alex Volkanovski. Now, this guy was probably the first or top 3 guys I thought of straight away. You know, just think of his career, think of his character, his personality. You need to be able to get people to side with you and almost willing to die for you. And I think this guy going in there and, you know, if you're playing alongside Volkanovski, you'd be like, oh, this guy would actually probably die for me in here. And I think that would work in his favor because I think if he gets caught and he needs help, I think he's going to have a lot of people back him up. And he would definitely do really well in this game. Like he's well-rounded. He's got that rugby league base. So he's got some sort of coordination, which is really important. You need to be coordinated, balanced, especially like hand-eye coordination. Handles adversity really well. Like this guy's, like to think from that Taporia knockout, we were just like, is this guy gonna get a win again, let alone get the belt back? So this guy's been through it. And even the Ortega fight, the guy had Ortega black belt jiu-jitsu, absolutely insane on the ground. He was in the guillotine, literally getting choked out, managed to get out of it, and then gets put in a triangle, gets out of that, you know, wins the fight. Like, you can't tell me this guy wouldn't be able to win Squid Game. Very likable, as I said, would get people to side with him. So in those group games where it's like you got to quickly get people on your side to make a team, I think he would definitely gravitate towards people, and people would definitely side with him. But with that, where I do see him losing is, um, I think he would almost just, if there's like a elderly woman in there who's got no hope and is about to die, I think he would almost like sacrifice himself because he's just that good of a bloke. So that's the only side where I'm like, because I almost wanted to put my chips on him. I really toss and turn like Volk's the guy to win it. If I had to really choose, it was Volk, but just that because he's just, so he just has the highest integrity, and I think he would probably just save someone else's life for his own. That's where I do see where he could get almost to the pretty much to the final game, and then sort of sacrifice it. But okay, now before I get into who I would choose, I'm just gonna list a few people because there's so many fighters like Yuri Prohaska. I was like, I mean, imagine Yuri in there. It's so entertaining, but he'd be in there like meditating and stuff before he's about to die. I don't know. Ronda Rousey, Amanda Nunes, I think they would be really good at it as well. Chael Sonnen, he would be great. He would be able to talk his way through anything, but I think he just lacks the skill when it comes down to it. Johnny Walker, Johnny Walker, oh my God. I think just too low of an IQ, and he would die so comically well. It'd be so great the way he would go out. But yeah, I don't think he would win. Rampage Jackson, I think his temper would get the best of him. He would probably try and pull the gun off the guard or something, or yeah. Juliana Pena, she would go all right, but I think she would just get so annoying and annoy the other contestants that they'd end up just, writing her off. Habib, yeah, like too sketchy, doesn't look too coordinated, one-dimensional. Hamzat Chimaev, he'd be fun, but I think he'd just get sick in there, and I think I think he wouldn't be able to get out of the bed. He'd get too sick. Who else? Kamaru Usman, knees would give out. Stephen Thompson, I think he would be just way too nice. I don't think he would be able to kill anyone in there. So I think he'd end up like sacrificing himself for someone else. Tracy Cortez, I thought of her, but I think looks will only get you so far in this. If you've watched it, it'll get you somewhere if you can, use it to your advantage to sway people on your side, but it would only get you so far. Kevin Holland, I think he would do all right. I think Kevin Holland would definitely, he'd go all right, Kevin. But I think he'd just start too much unnecessary beef. There's like Nate Diaz again. You've got to be willing to set your ego aside, turn the blind eye in this and just keep concentrating. I think they would just take stuff too personal and then, lose concentration, and you got to be really focused. Okay, now, the guy who I would choose, this guy blew over my head. I was like, didn't think of him at first when I was planning this out. And then when he came to mind, I was like, oh my gosh, how did I not think of this person? This guy is battle tested. His life was literally Squid Game for a period of time. And if you know his story, you got to go, I'll let you know where to listen to, but he's not in the UFC now, but he was the former UFC heavyweight champ. So I still consider him eligible because, he was a UFC fighter just because he's not in there currently. But the person who I think would win is Francis Ngannou, the Predator. And I couldn't believe I didn't think of him straight away, but I think because he's not currently in the UFC, that's why. But when I was looking for who is battle tested, whose life has been through such adversity and who's had to literally survive and he's yeah, he's had to survive so much, and yeah, Francis Ngannou, without a question, would win Squid Game. If you don't know who Francis Ngannou is, go to Joe Rogan Experience. I think it was in 2022, his first episode on there. It's like 2.5 hours long, and he talks about his journey from the sand mines of Cameroon going all the way to Paris. So he had to travel through all the way through Africa to Morocco, get on an inflatable raft, and then seek asylum in Spain, and then make his way to Paris just to start his MMA career. And I was like, this guy has literally done as close as you could almost with the high stakes of Squid Game, because people, what he's done, people die doing that. And I was like, there's without a doubt, if I'm one of those high roller guys in there, if you watch, they got the mask on and they're placing bets on their contestants to win. And if I'm one of those wealthy pigs who have never heard of the word human rights before, I'm putting my money on Francis Ngannou. Just think about this. It took him 7 attempts to cross the border. It's like this little ocean passageway into Spain on an inflatable raft with like 9 people. So 6 times he got either dropped back into the desert to die essentially, or put in jail. This guy was living in Morocco, homeless. He would literally sleep in the forest, in the bushes like an animal, as he quoted it. He would go to internet cafes learning how to cross, what's the best way to cross the border. And like, that is exactly what all of those skills and attributes are needed. The mental and physical toughness, the adaptability, the strategic thinking, teamwork. He would be with all of these random guys working together to try and seek asylum and cross the border, literally getting shot at by immigration officers almost. Um, yeah, like this guy has literally been through it, and he's been out of, because when you go in there, you got to lead a team, you got to, side and um, work with randoms, and you who are criminals or whatever, or just, they're in there because things haven't gone their way, or they've been not necessarily the smartest or whatever. But the people, not saying the people who he had to work with were like that, but he had to just get all these people who had the same goal around the continent of Africa to seek asylum in Spain, and he led a team. He doesn't even know how to swim, and he had to paddle across this ocean with these other guys who are also just in panic, and you got to somehow, in the moment, whip get all these guys into shape, keep them focused, because if one of them stuffs up, you're cooked. And Francis Ngannou has all those skills and attributes to win Squid Game. Just thinking, like, just the adaptability and the survival he has. Like, you've got to be able to adapt and survive in those games. And it took him 14 months to get from Cameroon to Paris. So he left when he was like 26 years old. From Cameroon, he started that journey to get to Paris. So yeah, like this guy is battle tested in real life, in that sort of scenario of survival, and trying to adapt, get to a place and deal with all of the adversity. Like he was having to bribe like officers to even get into Morocco or something, like getting fake IDs or something. But yeah, definitely go listen to Joe Rogan, the first episode he's on there, and also any news articles about it with more information. But yeah, without a doubt, Francis Ngannou for me would definitely win Squid Game. Let me know what you think, if you agree with me. Comment, your top three or one person who you would think would win. Give me a reason why. Let me know if you disagree with me picking Francis Ngannou. I got to say, I think you'd find it hard to disagree with Francis Ngannou because of literally his journey to the UFC. Like, how does a kid from Cameroon working in the sand mines with no money, like even in an article, he had to eat money so the officers wouldn't take his money. Like he literally ate money. Like it's just his journey is crazy, and I think all those skills and attributes and what he's been through, he'd be able to use that and win Squid Game, most definitely. All right, so yeah, I think I'll leave it at that. You could go on for so long. It would be cool to be able to run this through like an AI simulator. That would be pretty cool, putting all of these UFC fighters in the Squid Game and do like a simulator of it. But yeah, so Francis Ngannou is who I think would win Squid Game. Again, comment who you think would win. You know, at first I thought Alex Volkanovski was going to be my choice. I was like pretty much 80% on him, and then Francis Ngannou popped into my mind. I battled with it a bit, and then I was like, nah, it's got to be Francis. But let me know who you think would win Squid Game. Comment below. Be sure to subscribe, leave a like. Let me know what other videos you want to see. But again, give me a good persuasive case as to which fighter you think would win in Squid Game. And yeah, and let me know if you disagree with my choice, Francis Ngannou. But again, thanks for watching and have a good day.